Welcome to Pyrography Made Easy. I'm Brenda. In this video, we are going to take a closer look at the Dragonborn artwork. This means that I will explain how to create some of the different textures that are found in the artwork, like the horns, which was requested by Alex. So let's get burning. The horn. Use a writer pen tip and burn along the trace lines. Since the background behind the horn will be dark on my artwork, I'm burning the lines a lot darker than I normally would. Next, switch to a shader and burn along the left edge of the first scale to create a shadow. Repeat this along the right edge, but keep the shadow much thinner on this side. Then use the razor edge of the shader to burn several thin lines of various lengths along the right edge. Lightly burn over the entire scale using circular motion. Don't make it uniform in color. Afterwards, reburn over the lower portion of the scale to darken it up slightly. If needed, darken up the lower shadow on the left side. Then burn over the lower portion of the second scale to match the first scale. Afterwards, burn in the shadows along the left edge of the second scale. I do not adjust the heat setting on my burner when working on the shadows. Instead, I slow down my hand speed a lot. Now lightly burn over the scale and add the thin lines to it. To get really dark burn results, I hold the pen tip in place for a moment or two. If needed, darken up some of the shadows along the left edge of the first scale. Reburn along the lower portion of the second scale. Now repeat the same steps on the next scale. Start by burning in the lower portion. Then burn in the shadow along the left edge. With this shadow, I first burned darkly along the edge, and then I filled in the remainder of the shadow. The order you do the steps isn't that important. I am burning pull-away strokes on this scale. Start the stroke on the right side and pull it towards the left. The video has been slowed down to show you what I'm doing. Burn pull-away strokes on the next scale on the horn. As you burn the strokes, make sure to leave small gaps here and there. Also, reburn over small areas to darken them up slightly. You want a little variety, but don't get too extreme with it. From here on, we are just going to quickly block in each scale on the horn. So fill the scale with pull-away strokes and burn in the shadows. After we are done with that, we will fine-tune the horn to give it its character. Now darken up the shadows and add cracks. The cracks are created by burning dark, thin lines with the razor edge of the shader. Make sure to vary the number and the location of the cracks on each scale. For a lot of the burning right now, I am slowly tapping the pen tip to the wood versus using a particular burn stroke like circular motion or pull-away strokes. Also, as you are fine-tuning the horn, be aware that I made the lower right side of the horn a shade or two lighter than the left side. A green arrow is pointing to the spot. At the start of the 7th scale, I shifted the darker side to the right or the bottom of the horn. Again, I mark this spot with a green arrow. The other bit of fine-tuning that I did was to add a few cracks along the outer edge of the scales. The outer edge would be the paler edge on each scale. I pointed to one with a green arrow. Sometimes, instead of cracks, I would make the outer edge a bit jagged in spots. This can be done by burning zigzag strokes in the shadows or burning several really short cracks in a group along the outer edge of a scale. I think the cracks give the horn a weathered or an aged look to it, so the more cracks it has, the older or more weathered it will appear. One of the last things that I did on the horn was to reburn along the bottom or the lower edge to make it appear in shadows. Bonus material: darken up the lower and upper edge of the metal band that connects the horn to the helmet. I don't have the video of the upper side being burned in. Use a writer pen tip and burn darkly around the rivets on the band and add a small shadow on the right and bottom side of them. Lastly, burn darkly along the outer edges of the metal band. Well, that's it for the horn. Alex, I hope I covered everything that you wanted to know about it. The medallion. With objects that have clearly defined edges like this medallion, I like to burn in the trace lines. I started out with a writer pen tip and then switched to a shader to start defining the shadows and dark areas on the medallion. Rotate the board as needed while you work so your pen tip is in optimal position when burning along the edges of an object. This will help ensure the lines are crisp, clean, and clearly defined. Now burn in the side of the metal medallion. A green arrow is pointing to the spot. Make sure to leave a lip or band of lighter color along the right or inner edge of this first ring. That will form the top edge of the ring. A yellow arrow is pointing to what I am talking about. Now we will work on burning in the dark areas on the medallion. These are all of the areas that are recessed. I want to point out that I am not burning them in very dark right now. The medallion has a lot of rings on it, and it is easy to get confused as to which ring I am burning on. Light-colored burn marks are much easier to erase and fix than dark ones. After the area is blocked in and nothing needs fixing, or any problems have been fixed, then it is an easy matter to reburn over the areas to darken them up. As I said before, rotate the board as needed while you work. I am happy with how the blocked-in areas on the medallion look, so now I'm reburning to darken up the shadows. The areas with the darkest shadows are the first ring on the medallion and the ends where the leather bands fasten to the medallion. I am using a basic uniform strokes type of motion for the reburning as it produces smooth results, but use the method you are most comfortable with. I want to show you why it is important to keep your pen tip in optimal position. The green arrow is marking the spot where I accidentally overburned or I burned past the edge of the shadowed area. If I had taken the time to rotate the board, I could have avoided that. To fix it, I will have to scrape over the area until that overburn is gone. This area I'm working on is leather and it has small rivets in it. The leather forms a ring or a circular base around the medallion. This is the reference photo that I used to create the medallion. It can be found on my blog I wrote discussing the artwork. I will put a link to that blog in the description below. The leather strap across the top of the medallion has a rolled or raised edge on it. Burn in the strap but leave the edges a few shades lighter in color. I am using uniform strokes for the burn method on the leather strap. Now I want to show you again how easy it is to create a rivet. The rivets all have a line burned around them. Then the side opposite of the light source is darkened up, and that color is extended a very short way to create a shadow. Now the rivet looks 3D. Once the area around the rivets is burned in, they will really pop or stand out. Back to the leather strap. Darken up the area around the large rivet, but leave the edges of the strap several shades lighter in color. Right now, I am making a mistake. The leather is bending over the edge of the medallion, but it is not molded to its contours, so I should not have burned so darkly on the right side of the first ring. This makes it look like the leather is sinking down into the channel on the medallion. It wouldn't do that, so I erased the dark burn by scraping over it until it was much lighter in color. The goal with the strap is to burn the ends so that they are darker than the center. So the two ends are the areas that bend over the side of the medallion, and they should be the darkest areas on the strap. The top, or the center of the leather strap that goes across the medallion, should be a shade or two lighter than the ends. The two areas where the leather strap bends over the edges of the medallion should be a shade or two lighter than the center of the leather strap. Lastly, the rolled edges of the strap should be lighter than the center, but darker than the bends. Now we will darken up the remaining recessed areas on the medallion. Like before, I blocked in the areas keeping the color in the tan range. Also, lightly burn over the top of the medallion surface. We don't want any unburned wood in this area. After the recessed areas are blocked in, and you're happy with how the design on the medallion looks, then reburn over the recessed areas to darken them up. I don't have video for this step. Now it is a matter of burning and reburning to slowly build up the color on the top of the medallion and on the second ring of the medallion. As you work, keep in mind that the upper left edges should be lighter in color than the right edges, as the light is striking on that side first. Green arrows are pointing to a few of the spots that I am talking about. During this reburning process, I am mostly using circular motion and uniform strokes, but feel free to use the burn method of your choice. Also, I don't have the heat set very high on my burner. It is set just so that I get a medium to dark tan burn result. This way, I can burn on the top of the medallion and not worry about it getting too dark. Plus, I can slow down my hand speed to get darker results when I'm working on the leather. The very last thing I did was use the sharp edge of a knife to scrape in some highlights along the left edges of the medallion. I kept the highlights confined to a corridor next to the leather strap. I marked the area with a green circle. Well, that's it for this episode. If there is a time-lapse video that has a texture that you are curious about, let me know. If I still have the video files for that artwork, we can take a closer look at it. Well, thank you for watching my video, and I will see you next week.